You're tuned to Evergreen Media Network. I am Cindy Schwartz, and this is the Patient Partner Show. It's a podcast, and it's also on iHeartRadio and Talk Radio. Jeannie Rollo is my co-host. Jeannie, we're talking today about men being diagnosed oftentimes way later in the cancer stages. And why is that happening? You've got some insight on that, and I mean, I know it too, and from family members that, and I don't want to just say, men don't want to go to the doctor, but they don't. Women seem to go to the doctor more often, but we have more, and this is going to sound silly, but I'm going to say it anyway. We have more reasons to go with pregnancy and, those kind of things. Birth control, a lot of times women are more in charge of those kind of things, so we seem to go to doctors more often, but I get it. I get why men are, reticent to go. And it just is, I don't want to say a societal thing too, as well as everything else that goes along with it. So why is that? And it's sad that they get diagnosed later for these stage cancers.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, this article, what bugged me about this article was they mentioned everything except for when I talk to men that I've heard is their main issue is that they are tired of not having dignity in care. The typical reasons why men might not go is because, I'm not sick. I'm never going to get sick, or I don't have time, or I don't have the money.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And those are all, reasons. And that can even for women be some of the reasons. But for men, a lot of times it is because they are thrust into situations where they have young female chaperones, or the nurses are female rather than male. And we've talked about this, that in healthcare, I think the last stat I saw was 92% of support staff typically is female rather than male. And yes, there are more and more males getting into the system, but a lot of times those are not happening at like doctors' offices and such. That those are still primarily women working there.
Okay.
So for some males, the ones I talk to, that's the primary reasons. They're tired of being treated like, your dignity doesn't matter to us. We've seen this before. So, that's their reasoning. But the result is there are a lot of cancers there that are being caught very, very late. And it is very sad that this happens, or that men who feel like over a period of time they're not being listened to about their dignity concerns or whatever, fall out of the system. They no longer participate in the medical system until it's too late. So, that's what I think the medical system is failing to understand, is that maybe one size doesn't fit all.
Okay, so let me turn this around and be the devil's advocate on this issue. For years and years and years and years, it was always male doctors. There were no female doctors.
Right.
Okay, so women had to go to a male doctor. And then we found down the line, and a long way down the line, that we were being abused, that we were being sexually assaulted, that we, as women, having male doctors, especially in OBGYN issues, and other issues, not just them, cardiologists, stuff like that. So now, do you think, and I'm just throwing this out, have we as women made a dent in that by sticking up for ourselves and saying, okay, we're no longer going to male gynecologists, male, cardiologists, whatever, male techs, those kind of things? And if you think it's working, and these are just our opinions on these shows, on this podcast, we're not doctors, we're not lawyers. Do you think now, what do men have to do to turn that around? Have we turned it around as women? I mean, there's a huge case right now about that OBGYN doctor in the Army. You don't hear about it anymore. And you and I both did podcasts about that. And we both said this is going to get swept under the rug. You're never going to hear from this again. And the women that are at the forefront of it, there were thousands of women that were sexually assaulted and nothing had gotten done. No one spoke up. There were no whistleblowers for how many years that this guy did this doctor. Of course, innocent until proven guilty. But now, with women speaking up, what do men have to do now? What should men do you think?
Well, I think, Cindy, that because women have spoken up so strongly, that maybe that has worked against men getting the same gender care that they want. Because a lot of these men I talk to, they will choose a doctor and she may be female, but what they have the problem with is the support staff being female also. And it's just like you and I, if we went to a gynecologist and we chose a male doctor, do you want the young male receptionist being the chaperone? Probably not. But if you choose your provider, you know ahead of time, hey, that provider is either male or female. But the support staff is the big area of concern because you don't have a choice in that. And that is where a lot of the problems come from. And
Okay.
yes, even though women have made great strides in getting like mostly female gynecologists, there is still a big problem out there of women being sexually abused or assaulted in today's society. So yes, it has changed, and no, it hasn't changed enough.
So who do we put that on then? Do we keep it put on ourselves that we have to stick up for ourselves? I get what you're saying if you choose the doctor and you don't know what the support staff is. You are totally entitled as the patient to ask what the support staff is.
Right.
I mean, there's all kinds of cop-outs on that. You and I have talked about that. If you go to certain facilities, they're like, we choose blah, 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 blah. Are there places that you can go to? And I know that there are because I've done it myself, and I know that you know it. You've talked people, and I have left.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go to the place where I feel comfortable, and I'll ask the questions now. That's why we do this podcast. We want people to know that you can do that. Are you going to be labeled? Yeah, sometimes you are going to be labeled. Sometimes not. A lot of times I've had people say, I understand what you're talking about. It happened to me. Our office doesn't run like that. I have. And those are the ones that I stay with. I also ask doctors that I trust, the ones that I do trust. I'll go, who's the best one for this? You know what the situation is, and they'll point me in the right direction. But have we made it bad or have we made it better for better care? And are we always talking about the conglomerate healthcare system as opposed to ones where doctors have gone off on their own and started their own clinics because they don't want to be involved in that kind of issue either? I mean, they're paying a lot of money in insurances and stuff like that to try to navigate their job in all of this. The doctors and that aren't all the bad guys either. We're all in this together. So that's what my question is. Who do we put this off on? Us? Do we put it on the legal field again? Do we put it on who's the gatekeeper for the medical community? And how do we get this stuff changed?
I think it's a shared responsibility. I think everyone has to speak up. I think the laws have to be changed. And I think the medical system has to be changing itself. It is just a joint effort. So it's not any one thing that can change it, but it's going to have to work together to change it. And that's why I keep doing this over and over again. You have to speak up and out, up and out. You can't get change being silent. And women found this out. And yes, it's not perfect because there are far too many women, as I said, still being sexually abused,
Right.
assaulted.
Yeah.
But men have to learn to speak up and out, or it will not change. And for the ones that I know who do speak up and out, a lot of them, it doesn't change. They just do not get treatment because they can't get that change, or they have to travel hundreds of miles from where they live in order to get the treatment that they want.
That's valid. It is valid.
Yeah, we need men to speak up.
The other thing, too, that I'm going to throw into this, and I know this for a personal fact, when people hear the C word or the possibility of the C word, the cancer word, they freak out. And I want people to know, okay, no one wants cancer. None of us want cancer. I mean, it's almost like routine anymore, and I'm sorry to say that. But if it is cancer, if you get it early, you have so many more options. So there's another reason to speak up and not be afraid. No, you don't want to be accosted and assaulted and all that, but it's your own benefit to speak up and often. On that note, stay listening to Evergreen Media Network.